Hello and welcome back to another episode of Cooking with Sunny. Today we're making an incredible Gruyere mac and cheese. Let's dive right into this recipe. So we're going to start by making our roux, starting with some unsalted butter here, straight into a pot over low heat. And remember, the recipe will always be in the description underneath this video. Once your butter has melted, just go ahead and add your flour and mix it in. So you're looking for a kind of a wet sand type of consistency to this. So remember, when you're building a roux, you need to cook it for at least 5 to 10 minutes. I'm making a bechamel with this, so I'm going to make a blonde roux, so I'm going to cook it about 10 minutes. But there's roux that you can cook for 40 minutes and have a dark brown butter roux. There's a Cajun roux that's actually black and burned. So just make sure you cook your roux for at least 5 minutes. So when I'm making mac and cheese, I'm always using Gruyere, Cheddar, and Parmesan, or some variation of those three. And then if you want, you can add a bonus cheese like Taleggio or raclette in there. But those three, Gruyere, Cheddar, Parmesan, that's my base cheese for mac and cheese. So we're just gonna go ahead and start shredding up our cheese. Just a large grating size is fine. Remember to come back to your roux periodically as it's cooking and just give it some stir, give it some love. The secret to a good bechamel is really working it and adding the milk little by little, which we'll get to soon. So my roux has been cooking for about 10 minutes. It's a nice blonde roux. The flour has been cooked off. It is ready to receive the milk, which is right here, which I have scalded, meaning brought it up to a temperature where it just forms a skin on top and then shut off the heat. So now we're ready to start building our bechamel. Okay, so we are going to start adding our milk just little by little. So I'm going to add 2 little ladles and then get in here with a whisk. And it's going to seize up as soon as it gets to a certain temperature. There it goes. So you really want to work it. Like what I said earlier, a trick to this is really just giving it a lot of work, and then when it's all dried up, add some more milk and repeat this process of working it in with your whisk. So what we're trying to avoid here is any lumps. We're just going to have a nice smooth bechamel. Okay, so we're going to continue adding our milk. So like this should really hurt, people. Like if your arm's not tired after making a bechamel, you're not doing it right. Oh, my arm hurts. So I'm just adding milk little by little, working as I go. No rush, take your time. Okay, now that I have added all of my milk, we're going to start adding in our cheese little by little. But remember, I'm going to reserve about 30-40% of this cheese to go on top as we bake it in the end. So save some of your cheese for that. So same deal with the cheese, is that we want to add it in stages. So just little by little, just work it in with your whisk. Don't add too much at once. This is going to be the most cheesy, ridiculous mac and cheese ever. So I want this to be a little bit loose, and I'll tell you why later in the video, because something is going to help to thicken it back up. So now that I have roughly 60% of my cheese incorporated, I'm going to add a bunch of freshly ground black pepper. Love black pepper. So I'm going to go ahead and add some sea salt to the pasta water that's boiling over here. So remember, when you're cooking pasta, you always want to season the water. Do that with a lot of vegetables as well. This is going to give the pasta itself a nice rounded seasoning. So now that my pasta water is boiling, I'm going to add my pasta. I'm using Rigatoni. You can use whatever shape you like because it's all the same. Straight in. Give it a stir and make sure it doesn't stick. So I haven't added any salt to my bechamel, and that's because I have all that salt from the cheese and the Parmesan, and also the salt from the water, which has seasoned the pasta. So I want to be really careful it's not too salty. Okay, so my rigatoni's been cooking for 10 minutes. We're going to strain it off. I'm going to let that drain for about 2 minutes. Okay, so my pasta is sitting over there in the strainer. Remember, do not ever rinse your pasta. So remember how I said the mac and cheese sauce was a little too thin on purpose? So the starch that we haven't rinsed off that pasta is going to thicken it back up all the way. I'm going to go ahead and dump my pasta into my bechamel. Give that a nice little stir in. Oh my God, this is insane. This is not for the faint of heart. Go ahead and pour this into our baking tray. Oh yeah, make sure you scrape good. Flatten that out a little with the spatula. Now all that cheese we reserved, going right back on top. Spread it evenly over the top of the whole mac and cheese. And this is going straight into a 425-degree oven. So I just got this out of the oven. It's been cooking for 30 minutes, solid 30 minutes. A lot of beautiful golden brown color on top. We're just gonna leave that to cool. So I'm using fried rosemary as a garnish. I just fried this for about 45 seconds in some olive oil and butter. Just gonna slice that up a little bit. You don't wanna fry it too long so it can retain that color. We're gonna go ahead and garnish with our fried rosemary. Beautiful color on that. Of course, some fresh ground black pepper. And that is Gruyere mac and cheese. Well, it certainly looks incredible, so I'm coming in for a taste. I definitely would not skip putting all that cheese on top to make that awesome crust. So good. And the seasoning on this is perfect. Like I said, getting all that salt into the pasta from seasoning the pasta water, and then also all the cheese, especially the Parmesan. This did not need any salt. It's like just perfect. The way the sauce fills inside that rigatoni and the way it squeezes out in your mouth as you bite it is really cool. Well, that is it for today, my friends. If you liked the video, please consider subscribing, and I will see you next week.